Hey, welcome everybody. Here we are. It is Hanging Left. My name is Matt Connarton, and of course, with me is Todd Ayer, my partner in crime in this venture. How's it hanging, Todd?
It is hanging
Well,
left,
very good.
progressively today, Matt, and I'm going to get into that deeper in the show.
Outstanding, outstanding. Now, for those of you who are streaming the show live, we are live on Sunday, July 20th. And of course, hello to all of our podcast listeners, which is how most people consume the content. But if you do happen to stream live, feel free to put a comment in the chat. And if I see it, I will put it on the screen and we'll read it for everybody. But if you happen to be listening to the podcast version after the fact, feel free to give us feedback anyway. You can always comment on the show, on the feed, on any of the various social media platforms that we're on. And of course, you can find the show on all the major podcast platforms too. So, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you consume your content, YouTube, everywhere. There we are. Where you are is where we are. That's my attempt at a quick motto, which is quite clumsy on my part. So I
Yes,
won't.
yes.
I shan't do that again. But so Todd, wonderful to see you on this Saturday afternoon. I'm sorry, Sunday afternoon. Oh my goodness, having a very busy weekend, so it's all going by in a blur. I can't keep my
I
days.
hear you. The same here, my friend. Same
Can't
here.
keep my days straight. And I think I did mention this is episode 7. So what's going on in your, well, I mean, should we plunge into the most dominant news story in the political world recently? Should we?
Yeah, I mean, why not? And actually, I did want to ask you something
Sure.
because I admit I have been so inundated with the second portion topic that we're going to talk about, which is the D1 congressional race
Yeah.
that is, catching momentum here in New Hampshire. I have not. I heard a little bit of a sound bite on what's going on with the Epps thing. Of course, I'm up to date on, and that's the topic we're about to explore momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, I guess, the Russian relationship is something we're going to talk about in this next hour,
Yeah.
as well as I heard a little bird told me, no, I don't listen to Fox, but it does sound a Fox term here, or a Fox misnomer,
Yeah.
but something about Obama being like accused of some conspiracy theory out about Obama and how he might have done something treasonous. Have you heard anything about this?
I have, and I don't know what actual evidence has been presented, if any. But of course, they've been foaming at the mouth at Fox News over this, and something having to do with rewriting reports, directing the DOJ to rewrite reports with a heavier bias on showing Russia collusion between Trump and Russia, so in a way that actually relates to something we are going to get to later about Russia, or as Trump likes to say, Russia, Russia, Russia. So yeah, so I suppose we'll get
That's
to that
a new
too.
one to me. How did I miss that?
Yeah, it's well, the news cycle.
I've seen that
The
one.
news cycle moves so fast, so fast.
Yeah. As does my life. So,
but yeah, Epstein. It's funny. Jenny was watching. I only saw the beginning of it, but there was a show, this weekly show. I'm not even sure where it's from. It's online that Jonathan Capehart does with David Brooks. David Brooks, of course, representing the right. Jonathan Capehart representing the left. But David Brooks is a Jenny just said in the chat room, Marsha. Nice
yeah,
Brady's
exactly.
Bunch reference.
Yep.
So David Brooks was lamenting because he's one of the more, he's not a Trump guy. I don't know if he's officially technically a never Trumper, but he's not a fan of Trump. He's a more he's a Republican, a conservative who is not a fan of Trump, or as I like to refer to them, never Trumpers, or I like to call them the smart ones. But that's what that's how I, the ones who are still reasonable and living on the same plane of reality as the rest of us at the very least.
Right.
And Brooks was kind of lamenting that he was talking about how far America has fallen, in terms of education and technological innovation and so forth. And he opened his remarks on the show talking about that and saying that, you know, with all of the problems and challenges that we have, and the number one thing that people are asking me about, and the main thing that people are talking about throughout the media, through all levels of media, is Jeffrey Epstein, a guy who's now been
Yep.
dead for 6 years. And I thought it was an interesting insight. I think he's right. I think he has a point. That's not to say that we shouldn't care about Jeffrey Epstein, because um, Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, there were victims, and so we should care about that. And these victims should get justice. And perhaps part of that justice would come in releasing some of these names that are on this list and all of that. But David Brooks was really lamenting that, you know, that seems to be the number one thing that we're talking about in the media, is the Epstein
Yep.
files, the client list, if there is an actual physical list, et cetera. And I thought that was interesting. So some people are pretty fed up with it all.
Yep.
And a lot of MAGA people seem to be fed up with it all. And what's interesting about it to me is because, you know, Trump is blocking any kind of release of it.
That's interesting. I mean, that's par for the course. I mean, isn't that his typical modus operandi? I mean, does this guy ever like let anything come out that is truthful? And certainly not if it's truthful and anti-Trump.
Well, the thing is, he can kind of afford to stonewall it, because what seems to be happening is people are blaming Pam Bondi, or they're blaming Dan Bongino. They'll blame. See, Trump can get away with it because he knows at the end of the day, although he has lashed out a little bit, because some of the MAGA bro right wing podcasters are kind of turning a little bit. Or at least they're starting to question their allegiance and their loyalty to Trump. But he knows the MAGA base, they'll just blame anybody but Trump. You know, they'll blame Bondi, they'll blame Bongino, they'll blame whoever else they can find. Of course, they'll blame Democrats. They'll blame whoever they have to blame, as long as they can avoid holding their dear leader accountable. So Trump knows at the end of the day, it's not really going to hurt him with the base, because the base is loyal to him no matter what. You know, they're
right.
There could be you know, video of him.
It's a cult.
It is. So
I mean,
it almost doesn't matter in that sense. But it has been interesting to see the way the MAGA media has been kind of torn apart by this. I mean, Fox News, I guess, just ignores it. But like I said, a lot of the podcasters, the MAGA podcasters, are beginning to turn a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, we'd be remiss in not stating the obvious, which is that I think that the podcasters at the end of the day are podcasters first and MAGA people second, many of them anyway. Especially if you're talking about your Joe Rogan. And you know, Joe Rogan wouldn't be the caster, at least like with listenership and economically, if he didn't know how to read the tea leaves.
Right.
So he's not going to do something that's a career suicide.
Agreed.
So as people are starting to like, plus Trump is kind of like, you know, it's dissipating slowly, but it's starting to dissipate in the sense that TikTok, his time is up. I mean, the guy is about to like end his presidency. Like, really, as long as you adhere to the laws as they should be. I mean, it's getting, you know, closer to the end than the beginning. Let's put it that way.
True. Yeah.
So yeah. So I although this is scaring me, but that segues nicely into where my belief system is coming. Now, first off, usually I think I can say safely I would agree with a conservative podcaster. I guess now I have to strike that from the record, because just prove me. I would agree. But I would agree for different reasons.
Sure.
I would agree because my problem is this. Are you really telling me, with all of the problems going on right now in this country, that the Epstein file, who was on the list, and having these people's hands get caught in the metaphoric cookie jar, really what the media and even people on our side, and specifically on our side, actually, because I can't hold Republicans accountable. I've given up on that. But I'm still hold the Democrats accountable. And why is this the thing they're going on and on and on about ad nauseum? Like they have been hand wringing and self-deprecating for like since the Harris camp on down, and they couldn't come up with a message, to save their own skin. And here they are. This is what they're going to get all upset about, and they are demanding justice for. Meanwhile, we have, like people ignoring the justice system and corrupt, people in court that are politicizing the Supreme Court. And, the list goes on ad nauseum. And it's Epstein files and what the poorly behaved rich and famous are doing once again.
Well, here's the thing about that though, because I guess I'm taking kind of a nuanced view of it, because I'm kind of, I understood absolutely what David Brooks was saying, and I understand what you're saying. And I think that's a great point. And, there are very important things going on that are kind of getting lost in all of this, lost in in everything about Epstein. On the other hand, though, I do think we got to be able to talk and chew gum. We should be able to care about all the things you mentioned, but I think we should also be caring about the Epstein files, because there are victims here, and that's something everybody loses sight of. Everybody kind of forgets.
No.
You know what I mean? Because we
absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I haven't seen the party have fight now.
Yeah.
For a long time.
I think your dog's upset about the Epstein files.
Yeah, the Epstein files. She definitely doesn't. She feels like, we should really be doing something about, kill shelters and things like that. But that's a whole other issue. Anyway, I'm for her. I'm anti-kill shelter, just for the record.
Me too.
But anyway, it's not. I don't want people. I don't want to get caught in the Iranian circle. So to dismissing the fact that a crime was done.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that as a Democratic leader, job is to right the wrongs of this regime and get us back on the track of democracy and like fix. I mean, how about the big bogus bill? I mean, like, let's fight for some things that actually affect a lot more people. Saying.
I agree. I think a lot of Democrats have kind of hung their hats on the ideas that the Epstein files is going to be what brings down Trump and completely dismantles MAGA.
Okay, so maybe that's it too. But we've had a lot of smoking guns to bring down MAGA.
True.
And
it never works.
January 6th didn't bring down
I know
MAGA.
If that couldn't do it, what can,
I mean, to me, that's way worse than the Epstein files. I mean, plus it's no mystery that rich men who have unbridled power and influence use their power to abuse less powerful people. That's right. Sort of the unfortunate formula.
Right.
So this is really not news. Like, these are pigs.
Brian Mackey had a good insight. He said it's important because they keep lying. We get nowhere asking about the economy and the $1.99 gas. They got caught in a bold-faced lie on Epstein.
Yeah, Brian, and I would agree with that. But well, 2 points on it. Number one, I think the good news is they're now living the gas drama and the egg drama. Like, so I don't have to waste my time anymore crafting great narratives about the economy being up to par, because it's not. So, and it was before. So the proof is in the egg prices, shall I say, right? And hasn't lowered them. So make scrambled eggs out of that, my friend.
Right.
And next thing is, I mean, I get it. Again, it's just, to me, I guess I've lost a little bit of, I guess I don't believe that the Democratic Party, or many of the Democratic at the top of the brass leadership there, are doing it for the right reasons anymore. I mean, I really believe that they are, dare I say, somewhat opportunists themselves. This is getting them a lot of media. This is, their self-importance and self-interest too. So, like, I think they love the media coverage and to be able to bellyache about Trump publicly and get a lot of gold stars on their papers,
right?
just as much as Republicans do. Like, I mean,
Of course.
Honestly, Schumer's leadership right now is embarrassing.
Yep.
Jeffries isn't much better, and I'm sorry, this is what's going to like have you, start to cause good trouble and march into to war. For like, we asked you to march to war a lot long ago. A lot,
Yeah.
Where were you?
No,
That's my point.
I agree with you. The leadership in the Democratic Party has been so bad in so many ways. It's funny because when you mentioned Schumer specifically, so I have a family member who likes to text me a lot of very angry things regarding my politics, and one of the things he loves to bring up is my love and devotion to Chuck Schumer, which is interesting because I can't recall ever in my life ever saying anything nice about Chuck Schumer publicly or privately, but for some reason this particular person, and I think it frustrates him that I don't answer his text messages, but it's like he throws all this stuff at me that I've never even talked about, or
magical
my
thinking, magical
or
thinking,
my
my
love
friend.
and devotion for Gavin Newsom, who again I've probably complimented maybe once or twice, but I don't know where this person is coming from with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I've known you for a while, and I've never known you to send any love letters to Schumer. I don't
No,
know.
I want to get younger.
Maybe I'm.
Yeah, I want to get younger leadership in there, as we've talked about on the show. Let's get some younger blood in there.
Hello, guys. I'm going to write a very, very powerful letter, strongly worded.
Yes, the strongly worded letter to Trump. That's great. I'm glad you wear glasses because otherwise that impression wouldn't have been nearly as effective.
Yeah. Oh God. Anyway. But anyway, again, I'm not dismissing Epstein, but like you said, the guy's been dead for 6 years. This is like Washington's version of the OJ trial. Like, let's just, let's do some real legislation first. Let's fight the big beautiful bill. Let's make sure people have universal health care. Let's make sure that people can pay their bills. Let's make sure that people have roofs over their head, families, and then we're not deporting a fourth of our workforce for no damn reason.
Yeah.
And then let's assess the Epstein files.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think we ought to be able to do all of it, but I don't disagree with you because as I'm always complaining about the messaging in the Democratic Party and how bad it is, how disjointed it is. And, I hate to say it, but I think maybe part of the reason for all the focus on the Epstein files is something easy that people can understand, because Democrats have a hard time explaining complex, like you've heard my rant about inflation. We had a president for 4 years who was no longer able to articulate something to the American people like, hey, we have high inflation. It's a hangover from the pandemic. By the way, we're doing better with this than the entire rest of the world is. So, let's look at ways to bring it down. But we had a near 80-year-old man who couldn't do that. And the rest of the Democratic Party can't figure out how to explain it either.
I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is far from 80, and he can't seem to do it.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, there's so few Democrats who can figure out how to message.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Jenny did mention, by the way, mentioning groceries, that our grocery bill is up $50 a week in the last couple of months. And Brian said, the angrier we keep Trump, the more he's going to screw up.
Hey, look, Brian, I promise you, I will never say a nice thing about Trump, ever.
I did.
And
I did last week.
I know you did. But, we let that.
Positive reinforcement. You know what they say about a broken clock? Even Trump can be right once or twice a day. But
that's far too much. Or twice a day. Once or twice a century, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm a never Trumper, but I'm not a never Republican Trumper. I'm a never Trumper progressive, which I guess they are. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think there is such a thing as an always Trumper progressive. So maybe that's an oxymoron or whatever you call it. But either way.
Right.
Okay, so now that we have covered Epstein file, and sorry, but yeah, I think we can move on since everybody else seems to want to cover them. We can move on with our show because Don't worry, you won't miss anything. It'll be covered.
Oh, that's for
All
sure.
right.
That's for sure.
All right. Next on the docket here, Mag Russia. Go with it.
Well, Trump's relationship with Putin seems to be not going particularly well. And there seems to be a lot of tension there. And I think that, remember, Trump did say during the campaign that as soon as the election was over, before he even got into the office, he'd have that, he'd move the goalpost back and forth a little bit, but basically before he was even inaugurated, he was going to have that war solved and settled and everything would be great. And of course, we all knew what that really meant. Even people who don't want to admit that they knew what that really meant, that meant that he was just going to give everything to Putin, okay, you can have it. But he and Putin seem to have had quite a bit of a falling out. They're not getting along. They're not saying nice things about each other. And Trump has been actually critical of Putin quite a bit recently. So that seems to have fallen apart. And
no more love letters. No more love letters.
No. Well, no, that was Kim Jong-un.
I'm sure there's love letters there too. He loves everyone. He loves everybody that loves him.
That's true. That is true.
Right? Or that tells him he loves him.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Right. That's really the formula here. It's not really amazing, honestly. Like, I feel like they're a thing that like people put too much, give it way too much like analysis of. Like the guy is a sociopathic narcissist. So, or whatever. It's like he likes you until it bent him to no longer like you.
Right.
And he likes you as long as you're stroking his ego.
Oh, of course.
But the minute you stop metaphorically jerking him off, he no longer likes you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So it's interesting to see where that relationship goes. Ukraine obviously is suffering terribly, although they've had Ukraine and here and there will have some big wins.
They will.
In terms of how they hit Russia, but obviously, it's still very tough for them. But Trump seems to have shifted a little bit just in recent days into expressing some renewed sympathy for Ukraine to the extent that he ever had any, because he seems to be becoming increasingly frustrated and angry with Russia. Now, unlike with the Epstein situation, however, I don't sense any big shift among MAGA, at least in the MAGA bro sphere in the podcasting world, against Trump over this. I don't think that it's registering with people that Trump's relationship with Putin has kind of gone south and may not be recoverable.
So I think that, there's multiple reasons for this. I think number one, underneath their MAGA shells, a lot of these people are still war hawks.
Yeah.
So like the war is still alive and brooding in their minds, and they're going to continue that fight into eternity. I don't know enough about the the true political ideologies of a lot of the alt-right podcasters or the Crips. But I don't really think they had any love lust for Russia. Kind of, I don't know. A lot of them just seem to kind of go with whatever the moment is. Like to me, it's like they like to ride the wave of popularity.
Yeah.
It's almost like they make that connection between politics and pop culture because that's their formula, right? That's their medium, and they just ride it. And whatever way that wave is going is how they ride. I would say a lot of them are almost probably, we will discover, apolitical. It's not all of them, of course, but some of the younger ones I think are. They literally are just like more concerned with how many likes they get and how many followers.
Oh yeah, that's the number one thing.
It
is murky when it comes to foreign policy with MAGA because a lot of them they'll talk about
they can't they can't spell it. That's too difficult.
Well, they'll talk about being very anti-war, and a lot of that is clearly a reaction to the neocons. The W and all that, and these, they'll talk about these endless wars and how they want to get out of the endless wars, and that's what Trump promised.
I was going to say W was in.
No, but
you're not saying W was anti-war.
No, W
right?
was very, very pro-war, but
pro-war.
So a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of the MAGA base that they talk about being anti-war, and that Trump, is they'll say he's sort of anti-war, but then they find a way to, when it comes to attacking Iran, for example, that actually divided people too somewhat. But even the people who were upset with Trump seem to kind of forget about it after a couple of weeks. But but I don't think they have strong feelings about any of it one way or the other.
No. Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, first off, you're dealing with a lot of, especially if you're talking about the so for one thing, you're giving them a lot of credit. They don't know, they don't have the brain capacity to be able to fight two wars. And right now they're too entrenched in a domestic war and a culture war and a war against immigration. These are the wars they can stomach. And these are, because it's easy for them. First off, they created them. And second off, I just think it's self-involved and self-indulgent. So they're isolationists, but they're not anti-war. And there's a big difference to me. Anti-war is like, I want the peace. I care about the well-being of my neighbors.
Yeah.
I don't believe in using violence against people to get my I want.
Right.
And none of those things are true with the MAGA people. They're fine with being bullies. They're fine with actually abusing force, even on their own people. So they're hardly pacifists. So I don't know. I also like, they love to hear themselves talk, maybe even more so than us in this world like to hear ourselves talk.
Sure.
they just want to remain relevant. I mean, if you're crazy, honestly, there isn't much of a difference between the Christine Nome and the Marjorie Taylor Greene and that homeless individual sitting on the bench talking to themselves, waiting for the bus that will never come. And that's really what it's all about. These people are nuts, and I just don't give them a lot of rational, reasoning behind what decisions they make or don't make. I don't know if they just like wake up in the morning with dreams and this is how they decide they're going to go. I mean,
Miriam Banish said in the chat room, there often seems to be no rhyme or reason to what Cheeto Head does.
Right.
I will say this. I do think so. I do think there are a lot of people in the MAGA movement who are sincere about, when it comes to foreign policy, who are sincere about not wanting to continue to get into these endless wars.
You know what? Let me just quickly say one thing before you go on that. You're right. I think that we could actually divide the MAGA movement now into two, right? So there's the Peter Thiel, Stephen Miller group, and they are strategically not wanting war. They truly are trying to wage a scale culture war in this country.
I agree with that. Yep.
Like with neo-fascism and running the country like it's a dark corporation and all of this.
I agree.
So, and they want to get rich with as little. Well, they're already rich. They want to get freaking rich,
right,
beyond any fathomable, and want to do it at the expense of everyone else. So to them, you can't try to. They literally want to dominate the world. So how do you do the world and focus on, but do it internally and explode it out? So when you're trying to Handmaid's Tale, you can't really focus on Russia or Iran or this or that. It distracts, and they're also megalomaniacs, possibly, and more effective at being megalomaniacs, actually. So when you're like an Elon Musk, Thiel, or a Stephen Miller, you don't want any distractions from building your empire.
That's a really good insight, Todd, because I'd never thought of it quite that way. But I think you're on to something. So somebody like Peter Thiel, he may just not want war because that's going to distract from what he's trying to accomplish domestically.
Right.
I'd never thought of it quite that way, but that does make sense. And nothing distracts us quite so much as war does.
I mean, right. They literally wrote a book, 2025, it to the up and coming president and said, this is how you should run your administration. These people are like, the equivalent. They're like neo-fascist Zionists. You know what I mean? Not in the term of like, the Israeli Zionist term, but like, they're they themselves are cult leaders. They're trying, and furthermore, although Trump seems to not be aware of this, they're using him as a puppet. I mean, this is like, they've got Vance as their hand puppet, and they're feeding Vance the group speak, and he's whispering in Trump, and Trump, in a way, is doing this great thing, chaos and sideshow circuses, so that they can continue to dismantle the country and do the real damage.
Yeah.
So Trump is great. He's the village idiot. He's just a bigger village idiot. And when you're like a megalomaniac, village idiots are great because they create a bunch of distraction.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But then on the flip side, the other side of that coin is the MAGA. Yes, Miriam, I do believe that's why Musk backed away, because I don't know how many narcissists does it take to run a presidential administration. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, how many of these people can you put in the same room and expect them to get along? How long is that going to last? And so I think that, basically Trump has met his match times, I don't know how many, or really exceeded. These people are far more brilliant than he could ever hope to be. Not nice. Don't take brilliance with sane. They're not sane,
right.
But they are brilliant. We have to admit that.
Yeah. I wonder how much it bothered Trump too when, like I used to do it. I would, in social media posts, I would refer to Musk as the co-president. Not that Trump ever saw not that Trump ever saw any of my posts, or the first lady, but no, but just broadly, when, people would talk about Musk as being really the most, either the second or perhaps even the first most powerful person in the room in the Oval Office. And I wonder how much of that really got under Trump's skin.
Well, so Musk is wealthier. I mean, obviously he's the wealthiest man in the world. So like Trump is like, is literally that petty.
Oh yeah.
Like, I feel like being in a room richer than him.
Yep.
Which, P.S., all those people I mentioned, except for Stephen Miller.
Yep.
I think both Peter Thiel and Musk are richer than Trump. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So,
oh yeah.
This guy has a very fragile ego.
Oh yeah, he's deeply insecure. Deeply insecure.
Oh. It's so painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Amateur man. I never.
Well, that's why, I call it the Dunning-Kruger presidency, because he thinks he thinks he's smart, or he wants to or he knows he's not smart, but he wants, his followers to think he's smart. Brian Mackey says, I want to know why only the Dems call him out on his lies on his press conferences. I know you need at least half a brain to get into Congress, so they know he's
Yeah. Well, first off, Brian, I'm gonna actually disagree on that second part. I don't think you necessarily need a half brain. I think you need
money,
some kind of charisma, and some kind of like go.
Yeah.
Which doesn't necessarily equate to intelligence. I think you have to be a cult of personality, and because that's what his administration is filled with. But these people on I would love to see their IQ tests, but I'm guessing that they insert, or their intelligence testing, because I'm sure they're very subpar.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't have a lot of intelligence, right? All it takes, Brian, is, that old adage, when in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Well, these guys all are just one-eyed men. You know what I mean? Like, and their followers just happen to be completely blind.
Right.
So, we've lowered the ranks here. We've lowered the level of success.
Oh yeah. And Miriam said, if it wasn't so dangerous in this country right now, I'd sit back and eat popcorn while the show commences.
I agree with you full-heartedly, Miriam. It is one day, we will look on this and dare I say,
yeah,
because it is laughable.
Yeah, I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic.
Yeah. Be funnier if it wasn't our country. Oops, did I say?
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly.
But we do. That's the other thought on this, because this could be a whole other topic. But like, I find it so funny that we talk about all of these like underdeveloped, like dysfunctioning nations.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, here we got a superpower and we can't seem to get, I mean, we are so dysfunctional, which is even, it's like we have the tools, we have the money, we have the intelligence, we have the power, we have pretty much everything you would want, and we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, very well put. You're right.
And what else? I mean, it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Should we segue into
Sure.
I know you wanted to talk about the campaign and
yeah, so that actually does work our way into the campaign.
Yeah.
So in the campaign right now, Pappas, his seat, as people may know or not know, he's going to give up his congressional seat in New Hampshire, and he's going to pursue a senatorial position. And right now, what's happening is, you know, people are sort of jockeying for that, for his role, his position in Congress.
Yeah.
And right now, what I'm seeing, and it's only the early stages, but we definitely have what is happening internally in Congress, happening on the campaign trail. So you have this bucket of people that are very much like, you know, neo-democratic establishment lovers, and they're saying a whole heck of a lot without saying anything at all. And they're, yeah, they just want to march to the same drum, even though the drum is completely offbeat in the same. And then we have people that are, in some ways, at least to the establishment, trying to be negatively labeled as progressives. And in fact, what that means now is actually someone that is interested in looking at the current system, identifying the problems in that system, agreeing that we need systemic and sustainable change, and not those opinions, even if it means not kissing the ring of democratic leadership at a national level.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would not, dare I say this, I think in this current climate, someone like Stephanie Shaheen actually is at a detriment more than a, you know, an advantage. Because if you are a Stephanie Shaheen, you have to convince people now that you are Shaheen only by name, and that your sense of governance and your understanding of politics and how you're going to play the game is going to be different than her mother, who happens to be part of the current establishment.
Yeah, very much so.
Because, especially on the Democratic side, people are not nicely requesting for change, begging and clamoring and screaming for change. And ironically, what is working out there, or seems to be catching momentum, is in some ways metaphoric to what MAGA rise, right? Like, we have people that just want someone that is outside the system, or partially outside the system, is not just sucking all the Kool-Aid of the system and refusing to admit where it's broken, and stop making, and just get their hands dirty and do something.
Right.
That's literally all people want.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to get it right the first time. They just want you to make an effort.
Right. Right.
That's it. It's really simple. And, you know, I think that what we're doing, and myself as a self-identified progressive, we're really like taking back that. It's kind of like when you sort of take the negative term, you know, it's like what I did in the gay world. We queer, which used to be you know, what do they call that? Like what's the term I want? Where a term, but I was thinking a slur,
Yeah.
right? We took away the power and we empowered it, and we made it actually something that stands for like standing up for, you know, conviction and standing up for your identity and your rights.
Right.
And so that's really what progressive is. But even more so, what we're building now is a movement and not just a campaign strategy. Like, you know, it's really simple. We're just talking about things like universal health care, you know, the rights of everyone to due process, the rights of a president to be questioned the power of the purse, expecting our Congress people to actually use that power and force things like ICE to either get in line or shut off. You know, like, I mean, that's the things we're working towards is like, not that, you know, we're gonna definitely not, and I don't support this like metaphoric defunding of ICE,
Right.
but I do support taking inventory of the system and making people accountable and fixing what's broken and demanding change. And if they don't want to change, then asking them, and you can even ask them politely, to please step down and make room for people that are willing to put in the work and willing to do the hard, you know, the job that's needed.
I think on, you know, you mentioned ICE and of course, when we're talking about immigration, I think that one of the many, many ways that Democrats have failed in messaging is, again, you know, it requires an ability to explain these nuanced things to people. But, you know, when it comes to immigration, you know, we have to talk about reforming the system and put a heavy emphasis on that while acknowledging that the system is broken and that there is a problem with see, Democrats are afraid to talk about controlling the border because they think then they're going to be labeled as racist. So they try to avoid talking about it even when there is a problem. And what I say is there's nothing wrong with saying we as a sovereign nation have every right and reason to control our border, and that a secure border is a good idea. But we also desperately need immigrants, so we need to fix our immigration system so we can make it easier for people to come into the country legally and go and get jobs and all of that we depend on these immigrants for. But Democrats can't, you know, it's like they get afraid to even acknowledge, they're terrified to even acknowledge that border security matters. So they just end up not even talking about it.
I think that the problem is that all of these, you know, a lot of people in Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, and for different reasons, and especially they literally go to work plug themselves into life support and just sit there. Like, and when things are good, you can fly under the radar and do that.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And nobody gets that upset. But when things are unraveling, and I feel like you were one of the people that created this broken system, which all of them have been wrong, that they are some of the creators of the broken system.
They're all culpable. Yeah.
Right. Then what do? They don't know what to do.
Yeah. And they don't do anything except, you know, except,
and they hope we just ignore it.
Yeah.
And they hope we just don't see it.
Yeah.
And they're in Washington behind those, like, you know, alabaster things with pillars and what have you. And, you know, they have their weird culture and systems and their group speak. And as long as they just don't go outside that bubble, they're going to be okay. Just don't break the bubble.
Exactly.
And they're hoping, it seems like the vast majority of them are hoping that, like, one day they just, and then, like, someone comes along and moves them over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I believe in long-term healthcare, but it's not called Congress.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Whenever that subject comes up, my mind immediately goes back to Dianne Feinstein and just that incredible, the elder abuse that was happening in front of all of us. Just so shameful.
Right.
And it's, you know, it's tragic, but it's such a great example of, again, I hate to be ageist, but man,
it's not even just about age. It's about the fact something is broken. You have to fix it. Going to continue to, you know, there's an analogy. If your brakes begin to squeak, right? Just can drive and ignoring the squeak doesn't mean the squeak goes away.
Right.
Actually, what it means is eventually the brake pads wear. And then once the brake pads wear, you know, maybe you have to push the brakes a little bit harder, but you can maybe still get by. You can get by, sure. And then one day it's metal to metal. And you barely have any left. Until eventually the brake system snaps. And you have zero brakes. And you go careening into a wall. And you could have prevented that from day one. But you chose to ignore it. And the problem now is that the ignorance is only internal, and people are no longer willing to just give them a pass and, you know, accept this whole like Donnie show. It's not, we can't afford to do it anymore. That's the problem. So if you're going to stand up there and talk about the side are bright and the shining city on the hill and community is about children and try to all hold hands and sing kumbaya and all those other beautiful slogans come up with, like, you're not going to last. People are tired. I mean, most of us are tired of being tired.
Yeah.
And I some of us are at the point of no return. Like, to me, it's like, I don't have a luxury anymore to just ignore it. I never wanted to anyway. I was never one of those people.
Right.
But even still, people that were okay with denial are now waking up and going, holy shit. Like this little stitch that's trying to hold together my entire intestinal system is holding. It's like falling out. My falling out. Like, I've got to do something to put this crap back. You know, and they still deny it. That's what's scary. They're their own suicide pill. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish we had a political culture in this country, though, where people were more able to be critical of their own, because that would be much healthier, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Well, I am talking about our own.
I know,
right now.
And that's what I mean. There should be more, like, people should be able, like, Democrats should be able to constructively criticize other
I wouldn't
Democrats.
have gotten this nasty if they listened.
Yeah, exactly. And same with Republicans. They're afraid, you know, if you're a MAGA, or even just a mainstream, not necessarily MAGA Republican, and you step out of line and say, you know, the Democrats kind of have a point about this. Next thing you know, everyone you know who's a Republican is calling you a communist. You know, our political culture is so unhealthy that, you know, everyone has to stay in these bubbles and this tribalism, because you have to, it's peer pressure. It's like you have to go along with everything.
They say. Well, you know what they say. It's very guttural, but it's true. Opinions are like, everybody has them, but many of them stink. Yeah. And that's what's happening here. Like, honestly, this is just, you know, it's just at this point. Yeah. And I think that, but the irony of it is, it's so much easier to take internal inventory and ownership of where you can change rather than trying to change others.
Right.
So, and honestly, the American people are fairly forgiving, I think, in many ways. So if these people would just fix things, just start fixing things, they might have a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, am I begging people to do their job?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right. Well, the way I look at it, though, and again, this kind of, I was sort of, you know, my problem with the two-party system in this country is the tribalism and the unwillingness of people to criticize their own side, and, as you put it, you know, take inventory of what goes on their own side. I remember saying this once a long time ago on my radio show. I said, imagine if you had a job. Imagine if you had a job in corporate America and you're in middle management, and let's say you're not an ethical person and you decide to mistreat some of the people who are below you in lower management, and you do it with impunity because you know for a fact that in upper management, only about half the people in upper management are going to be upset with you for mistreating the people in lower management.
Right.
The other half of the people in upper management are going to excuse and justify, or just flat out look the other way on anything that you do. And that, to me, is how our politics works in this country. You know, regardless of what party you're in, you know, whoever is in your party ultimately is going to, in terms of the voters, they're gonna go along with whatever, because, you know, they're busy blaming the other side for everything. And so there is no internal dialogue taking place. And if you're a politician, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have that luxury, right? You've got a team on your side who's ultimately going to go along with you as long as you're the nominee, right? For whatever office it is you're running for, and the other team who's going to be against you no matter what. And there might even be people on the other team who agree with you, but they're on that team.
Yeah.
So they can't speak up
Here's the
and
thing
say
I
they agree with
find.
you.
Here's the thing I find very interesting, though, is that, okay, so let's play a different game, right? Let's say that you're a politician because you're narcissistic and you're a megalomaniac and you want to feel important.
Yeah.
Well, then even in that scenario, you would think to do things that were successful, right, and that like grew ego and that grew your fan base,
right,
and that had people like worshiping you. Like, to me, that's so you're not even doing it out of self-pride, because even if you're overly prideful, I don't know one narcissist that's perfectly going to do things to like destroy their life. Like,
yeah,
well, I guess Trump does. But
well, the problem though that we run into then is,
I guess, the blindness, narcissistic blindness.
Well, just in a broader sense too, not just, I mean, Trump is the best example of it, but in a broader sense, again, it goes back to the tribalism. You can do things. So take Trump's mass deportations, for example. This is something that I believe is not successful in the sense that I think it's harming the country in a myriad of ways.
Is.
But if you're MAGA, you think it's wildly successful. You love seeing the brown people get taken away and put in cages or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. When you have two very different ideas of what is successful, you can be successful doing the most horrendous things, the most damaging things, as long as there's a group of people who say, no, I actually like that. To me, that is success.
and I guess I get that, but I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm a bigger narcissist. I don't know, but like,
I might be the more cynical of the two of us. That might be part of it too here.
No, I'm cynical, but I'm cynical, but I also admit that I have an ego, and I like people like love what I do, not hate what I do.
Oh yeah. No, and I recognize that in myself too, because anyone who hosts a radio show or a podcast, obviously there's some degree of narcissism, because we're operating from a position that other people are interested in what we have to say.
Matt, not here.
Yeah.
Right now, I am crafting language and literally crafting policy for another to act as a figurehead to promote.
Yeah.
If you don't think that's narcissist, I mean, come on. Because basically what I'm doing is like saying, hey, I've got these things, but I'm so good.
Right.
Not only is it my belief, but this is a belief that I need to find somebody that can go out there and project to the whole world or whatever, the whole, nation.
Right.
Because I know what's right. And so to just think the politician thinks that is not accurate. Right. The people crafting the communication just as much think it's accurate.
Yeah.
So but that's important too, because like how can I ask people to believe what I believe or believe my leader when I don't believe it? If I'm like partially invested in it, or I can't argue my point.
Right.
I have no right to believe that. And that's what's happening right now. Like, I mean, people are feeling disenchanted and like left to just kind of flounder because their leaders are literally like, I don't know about you, I am so sick of hearing about how well we are not the majority. I mean, there are things you can do.
I know.
Believe you, I stand ad nauseum now what you can't do. You've spent umpteen million years telling you what you can't do. Or not you, certainly in this current, it seems like it's been years. God, it seems like it's been a decade. But
you know what's an example of that?
Show me what you can do.
You know, it's an example of because sometimes when Democrats, they say, oh, we're in the minority, here's all the things we can't do. When you bring that up, what immediately races to mind for me is when Roe v. Wade was overturned, and there was an interview with Kamala Harris. Obviously, she was not the nominee yet, and as far as we knew, it was going to be Biden and so forth. But somebody asked, oh, I think I even remember who. It was CNN. I can picture her, but I can't remember her name now. But she's one of the top anchors on CNN. Asked her, so what is going to be the Democrats' response to this? And she fumbled it and had no real answer other than, well, you've just got to elect more Democrats. Otherwise, there's nothing we can do. And it was like, oh my God, this is the best answer she can come up with. Not, well, here's we're in a tough spot, but we have some plans and here's what we're going to try to do. And we're going to make this. Instead, it was more
So
like just kind of throwing
yeah,
up her hands like, well, what do you want? I mean, we don't have enough power to do
yeah.
anything right now. It was
Unfortunately, I have a very local example, Matt.
okay.
I was at on the campaign with my client, and Stephanie Shaheen got up there and said, in all seriousness, that we are putting, in essence, that how can we act to deal with the immigration problem when we're not addressing the real problem, which is systemic racism. And until we fix this racism,
Are you serious? She said this?
I'm not joking, then immigration is just nearly a result of that systemic racism. And something else will come along the way that will be just as detrimental. And she went on at nauseum about this. And then one of the other candidates up there and said, yeah, like that. I agree. That's really the problem.
So for anyone who
I was speechless.
So for anyone who thinks that I'm too tough and too mean when I talk about how Democrats are terrible at messaging, I give you Exhibit A.
I was like,
oh my God.
wow.
That's
Wow.
bad. That's really bad.
And this is after people saying we don't want Democrats that don't give us solutions. Or that give us just these high in the sky philosophical like theories. If that is not a high in the sky, I mean, that's great if you're a college professor,
Sure.
Stephanie, which you are. I'm glad. We could definitely write a thesis paper on that.
Good Lord.
But that is not going to fix the immigration problem.
By the way, what is it going to take to get a Democrat to say, by the way, we need immigrants, so let's fix the system? Like,
we do
why
need
can't
them.
we get one to say it?
Well, she was saying we need them, but
yeah, but then
we need to have everybody sing Kumbaya and sing songs together to need them.
No, you got to,
like, they need to feel love.
Yeah. Democrats need to be able.
What they just need is love.
Democrats need to be able to explain to people that we need them, and it benefits you because it benefits all of us to have immigrants in the country. Because this country will, if I'll say it again, if you could wave a magic wand, a xenophobic magic wand, and all of a sudden every undocumented immigrant was gone, our economy would collapse overnight. I mean,
it's already collapsing. That's what they're working towards. Like, they're literally like. That's why some of the people in culture and things like that. And P.S. even locally, that's why there's now like a transition in New Hampshire with a lot of the people in agriculture shifting more to the left because they're like, but because we're running now, there's a lot of people outside of the people that like have the royalness.
yeah.
like people that are new to the playing field.
Yeah.
That are looking at this from like a movement built on like partnering with the experts inside of the NGOs and the nonprofits and the activists and the organizers and getting their feedback since they're on the front line and saying, hey, what do you guys see out there when you're out there? What's working? What do people want? What do you need? This is it. It's so like we can have that's simply, it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's really all it is. The answers are right in front of our face.
Yeah.
Resources to do these things. That's the sad part. We are not some broken nation on an inflation rate of like, where we have to like wheel our dollars wheelbarrow to buy a thing of milk.
Right.
We're a rich country. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, we are. We're the richest, most prosperous, most innovative country in the history of the world. We can solve.
Innovate. We might have to knock away. Innovation is not on our side right now, but I guess we're also the most arrogant country.
Yeah, probably.
This is or I don't know.
Probably.
Like, what do they say? They say getting, you gotten lazy. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're a fat,
lazy country. Well, we are.
Maybe it's time to diet.
Statistically, that is true.
Well, that's true too, but that's a whole other thing. But I'm saying metaphorically speaking.
But literally, I mean, we live in a culture where right out of the chute, everyone in your life is trying to stuff as much sugar and fructose and cholesterol into as possible. You learn to eat birthday cake and all kinds of candy and stuff. And then we raise generations of diabetics and people with heart disease,
Sure.
and nobody knows why.
Or food deserts, or these food deserts. God forbid for like farmers markets and fresh produce and things like this, and support our local agriculture, by the way. God forbid we do that, but let's make sure there's plenty of like Wendy's and Sonic's. God knows what else.
Great American food, as Trump said. Remember that during the first administration when he had athletes come into the White House and he'd serve them Burger King, and he called it Great American Food.
I don't.
You don't remember
so
that?
much of this? No. I think, although I don't want to think people. I'm not in denial. I'm just very, I'm very strategy focused.
Yeah.
I don't really care about all the garbage anymore. I'm sick of all the like static noise.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even listen to half of it anymore.
I go through phases. I go through phases where I do kind of stop listening to the static noise, and then it just gets too loud and I can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Miriam
says, we think we are by virtue of our existence despite so many problems.
Yeah.
You mean, well, that would be the same. That would be pretty much all about virtue of our existence. But you mean like, yeah, by virtue of almost like by virtue of our status as a quote unquote soup. But honestly, like you can't, it's like you can't say you won the Olympics by like diluting the standards and like lowering the bar.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. It's like,
it's a good point.
We got the gold medal, but now the gold doesn't mean very much. Like, this is not, yeah.
I mean, I do believe in American exceptionalism, but
I do too.
But it is hard to cling to it sometimes.
I'll be all about it when we deserve it.
Yeah.
I will, because in many ways, we've done a lot of great things for the world, but we just need to get back to that.
We need to live up to it. We need to live up to our legacy.
And follow our own values. We write the rule book.
Yeah.
Like, let's listen to our own rules. Like, that's the whole thing with the whole, the whole argument with due process for people and all this stuff, or, a passage towards citizenship. These are things we designed. Why we have a constitution. Why are we questioning our own designs?
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Well, we're just over an hour, Todd. Was there anything was there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to mention? Or I don't know if you want to plug any if you have any campaign events coming up for your client that you want to mention, or anything like that. Or
we'll be out there. We're really trying to do a lot of like coffees and conversations. I had no idea how many cool like locally owned, locally sourced like cafes there are out there. They're all over the place.
So
we'll be running that circuit. And really, just like I said, this is really an organization campaign. So we're Sarah Chazinski is a change candidate, so be about there and having the conversations and talking the walk, and even taking critiques and criticism from the public. I mean, if there are things we could be doing better, by all means, let me know. I'm only going to get better if I know better.
Right.
So, all that stuff. But yeah, stay tuned. I think the other thing I need to do is take some time and watch my own podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm starting to become like one of those celebrities. Well, okay, maybe that was a little bit over play there, but a notable person that's like not looking at my own stuff. I'm so busy creating it.
Yeah.
I jump to the next thing. It's
some people
I'm not,
some people can't bear to. Like, some people can't.
No.
Like, you always hear about actors who never watch their own films, for example, because they can't bear to see themselves on screen.
It's not that.
You're just too busy.
Maybe it's just I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always on this thing. Like, fighting the next fight.
I love watching, and as long as I love listening back to the podcast, as long as my microphone sounds good, which I finally figured out how to get the best settings out of this mic. I do enjoy that. And then I cringe if something doesn't, something doesn't sound right, then I cringe and I beat myself up over it. So I suffer for my art when things go wrong. But
Yeah, no, and that's every artist, right? Like, of course, I feel the same way. But for me, it's literally just like, I think right now I have two sort of in life. It's either turbo or sleep.
Yeah.
And like the only thing I can manage to muster in my downtime is playing Dragon Surge, sadly.
I don't know what that is. Is that a video game?
It's, it's like, I would say it's like slightly more like mentally developed version of Candy Crush.
Oh, okay.
It's a little more in depth, but like it's definitely like mine or like challenge, like it's challenging. So like, but it's a good escape.
Yeah. No, that's good though. You need that.
You make dragons and build worlds and whatever, and like worst case you just didn't earn enough, gems to like get the dragon you wanted. Sometimes that's a great problem to have.
No, it's important though to have something like that that kind of, takes your mind off things and then, sort of resets your brain. So then you're ready to get back to it afterward once you've had a little bit of a break. That's important to have those things. So
you have to rest, because if you don't rest, you're just gonna like.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep, absolutely. Your brain is like a computer, you got to power it down and hopefully it restarts. It might, there might be updates it has to do, but I guess that's dreams, right? If we're going to go, sometimes I like to take metaphors to an absurd degree. So the dreams are like updates happening, Windows updates, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean,
no, it is wrong. It's what I just said is
dreams
stupid,
are updates versus dreams are like, I mean, I don't know, either way. They're both out there. They're just on different spectrums.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to go with like dreams are, are visions from like my, I don't know, some spiritual voice, like not godlike, but more like, maybe the dragons themselves talking to me.
I do think it's funny that some people think dreams mean something, whether it's like a psychic vision or something. It's like, no, they don't. They're just random.
Maybe they do.
I don't think they do. They're just random bits of information floating around in your subconscious. I really doubt it. My dreams don't make any sense. There's no way my dreams mean anything. They're just random bits of randomness.
When I have the time in a year and a half, I will sit and analyze a dream for you. And I
really
anything I can make you believe, right? But I can certainly spin it so you'll believe.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Then I look forward to that. I'm going to put that in my calendar for a year and a half.
Yeah. Right.
Hopefully the country is still here in a year and a half, and we can do that. That'll be great.
Right. Or that's all we can do, and that's where we go.
No, it'll still be here. As cynical as I am, I'm not that cynical.
I am.
No. Well,
I wouldn't be here, my friend. I'd be somewhere else. I'm not. I'm a patriot. I'm not a fool.
Oh, one other thing though, we should mention website. I assume there's a campaign website. Yep. Should mention that for people who want to learn more about Sarah.
Right. So it's www.sarah603.com.
Excellent. Sarah603.com. That's a good. Yep. That's good, actually. You know what's great about that domain? I don't know if you.
Oh, sorry. Sarah603.com.
Okay, Sarah603.com. You know what's great about that domain, and you probably already thought of this. I don't know if you're the one who chose it, but you don't have to figure out how to spell her last name. Just Sarah603.
Yes, although I've heard. Yes, although I do think what we're going to have to do is one of those like clever things in like some print work, in some where you have Sarah C and like the C is like a different color.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Then you have the rest of her, Chadzinski. So, because you don't, I mean, it's not, you do want name recognition. Like people to go on Google and be Googling Sarah C and be like, I can't find a Sarah C.
That's true.
So,
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Oh, by the way, Miriam says dreams are the cleaning of our brains' hard drives. I like that. That's a better.
Okay,
that's a better
like
analogy
that.
than what I
Mine has a lot of cookies.
And do you want to mention anything about where people can follow you and find you, Todd?
Yeah, you can always go to my Facebook page, Todd Ayer, on Facebook. Also right now I'm tracking on Matt's stuff. So like, on YouTube, like you can follow his and then you'll find me there. I guess I'm like being a squatter right now. I haven't really. This is part of my issue right now, right? Like, although I did get myself basically a quasi assistant.
Oh, okay.
He's the campaign organizer.
Oh,
he handles the calendars.
Did I meet him?
And
is he
Jason? Yeah, Jason.
Okay.
And I said, you know what, Jason? I said, Jason, this is actually not a demotion. This is a promotion.
Yeah.
I said, fuck, Jason, but I can't keep my, I am all.
Yeah.
So if you, I'm like, you would be priceless to simply just like keep me on
Yep.
track.
Yep.
And he does it,
Good.
and he does it naturally, which is what's so great
That's
about it.
great. Yeah.
And and it allows me to do what I do, which is like big picture stuff and like philosophize and all that kind of thing, and like build the movements and all this kind of stuff too of what as well. He's at that stuff, but
Good.
he's got a little more pragmatism than myself.
Okay.
Or maybe organization, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're a good team. Very good.
Yeah. No, I love him. He's great.
Awesome.
He's
awesome. And
symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And I'll just mention too my website, mattconnarton.com, or if people want to find me too, they can just Google me. Sometimes people want to know how they can find my stuff. It's like, yeah, it's just Google me. I'm very Googleable. As I always say, there's only one other Matt Connarton that I know, and he's my uncle. So I'm pretty easy to find.
And also, if you ever want into me in the streets, anytime there's a 5051 rally, anytime you hear of any nationwide rally or protest that has a local presence, I will pretty much be there. It's pretty certain. So come talk to me and share your thoughts, share your ideas. We're here for you. That's what we're here for.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Todd, episode 7 in the books. I think it was a success.
Yes.
And
yes,
we hope everyone enjoyed it. Those of you who did participate live, thank you. And everybody else, of course, you can find the podcast on all the major podcasting platforms.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Bring your friends.
Yep. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Jenny. See, great, Jenny. I took you for granted.
I think we got everybody.
Thank you, Twigs. Thank you, Twiggy, so much. My dog. She's willing to jump on camera even when she's not wanting.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for episode 7. Right. We're going to go, and we'll talk to you all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
All right. Ciao.